In this video, we are going to see about a 2,400-year-old food system that can actually outproduce modern agriculture. Yeah, you heard that right. Way back in 475 BC, a Chinese farmer named Fan Li figured out a method so efficient it could feed a family for decades with almost no outside help. It's like a self-replicating protein factory from the ancient world. And the claims for this system? They're just staggering. I mean, think about it. More nutrition per acre than any industrial farm, and more protein per square foot than you'd get from cattle ranching. But what's really incredible is how long it lasts. Once you build it, it basically manages itself, feeds itself, and gives you a continuous harvest. It's amazing.
So that begs a really important question. If this system is so darn effective, and it's fed more people throughout history than almost any other, why have most of us in the West never even heard of it? Well, as we're about to find out, that silence, it's no accident. So first up, we need to dig into the history of this incredible system. We're going to trace its origins to really understand why this super valuable knowledge got, well, basically buried. The story kicks off thousands of years ago. It's a journey that takes us from ancient China through all these different dynasties and empires, all the way to a university in Alabama in the 1960s. It is a fascinating tale of observation, a little bit of luck, and total rediscovery.
Let's just walk through this for a second. Around 3500 BC, farmers notice fish getting stuck in low spots after floods, so they start digging them out, creating the very first managed ponds. Fast forward a few centuries to 475 BC, and Fan Li writes it all down. But the real game changer, that came in the 7th century, when an emperor banned farming his namesake, the common carp. It forced a massive innovation. And then, thousands of years later, in the 1960s, researchers at Auburn University rediscovered these exact methods and proved scientifically just how efficient they are. And that emperor's ban? This slide shows exactly why it was so important. Farmers had to shift from monoculture, just farming one species, to polyculture. They started raising different kinds of carp in the same pond, mud carp on the bottom, silver carp in the middle, grass carp near the top. Each fish had its own little job, its own ecological niche, which meant no competition. It just created this stacked, self-regulating ecosystem that maximized productivity with absolutely zero waste. It was a total game changer. Okay, so how does this ancient food system actually work its magic? Well, it's not just a pond with some fish in it. Oh no, it's an elegant 4-part living system where every single piece has a critical job to do. The whole ecosystem really stands on 4 pillars. You've got ducks, plants, fish, and bacteria. Think of each one as a vital cog in a biological machine that, once you get it running, just powers itself. Let's break down what each part actually does. So first up, you have the ducks. They are basically the biological managers of the whole operation. As they swim around, they stir up all the good nutrients from the bottom. And their waste, it's a constant source of nitrogen, which is the main fertilizer that kicks the whole food chain into gear. Plus, they eat insects and plants, turning them into more fertilizer and, of course, delicious eggs. Next up are the plants. You can think of them as the pond's kidneys and lungs. Plants like cattails are incredible filters, just sucking up excess nitrogen and phosphorus from the water so you don't get nasty algae blooms. Then you have submerged plants that release oxygen for the fish, and floating plants like duckweed that absorb nutrients and become a self-renewing snack for the ducks. The third pillar, of course, is the fish. This is your main protein harvest. You'll want species like bluegill, catfish, and tilapia. They're perfect for this. Bluegill reproduce on their own, creating the self-replenishing food source. Meanwhile, the catfish and tilapia grow much faster, turning all that pond productivity into food you can harvest, often in less than a year. And finally, we've got the invisible workers, the beneficial bacteria. Okay, this is the absolute backbone of the system. These little microbes are everywhere, on every surface of the pond, and they do one critical job. They convert toxic ammonia from fish waste into nitrates. And nitrates are the perfect, ready-to-use fertilizer for all those aquatic plants. This nitrogen cycle is the secret sauce that keeps the whole system healthy and balanced. So what do you get from all this biological engineering? Well, those Auburn University studies gave us the hard numbers. A pretty small 1,000 square foot pond produced up to 350 pounds of fish. Now, compare that to a 1/4 acre of cattle pasture, which gets you about 200 pounds of beef. That's nearly double the protein from 1/10 of the space, with almost zero inputs. That is just incredible. Okay, we've covered the history, we've covered the science. Now for the really fun part. How do you actually build this ancient food system in your own backyard? It's surprisingly straightforward. You can totally do this.
The first question everybody asks is, what's it going to cost me? And you might be really surprised to hear that a family-sized system can be set up for a total cost of around $500. And that's not some theoretical number. That's a real, practical estimate for everything you need to get started.
So here's how that breaks down. Your biggest expense is going to be the EPDM pond liner, but that thing will last for decades. After that, all the living parts, the fish, the ducks, the plants, they're all remarkably inexpensive. When you think about that one-time cost compared to buying meat at the grocery store for a decade, the value is just crystal clear. And the process itself is just 5 main steps. You pick a low spot on your property, dig a hole about 10 by 15 feet with some shallow shelves for plants, seal it up with clay or a liner, and fill it with water. Now, the most important part is the last step. You introduce life in stages. Plants go in first, then a month later you add the ducks, and then a month after that, the fish. This gives the ecosystem time to establish itself properly. And here's what you can pretty much expect in that first year. Month 1 is all about patience. You're just letting the plants and those good bacteria get established. In month 2, you add the ducks, and that's when the system really comes alive. Month 3, you introduce your fish. By about month 6, you'll be collecting eggs, and you'll see your fish are getting bigger. And by the end of year 1, you'll be harvesting your very first fish from a system that is now finding its own natural rhythm.
So this brings us all the way back to the core idea of this ancient food system. Because, you see, this isn't just a cool backyard project. It's a pretty profound step towards food sovereignty and a quiet, resilient kind of personal freedom.
This quote really just captures the whole spirit of it. In most places, a small pond like this doesn't need any permits. It's your land, your water, your food. You are stewarding a living system that works outside of those fragile supply chains. You're building an independence that, honestly, no amount of money can buy. So, after 2,400 years, the principles perfected by Fan Li are just as powerful as ever. The knowledge is here, the method is proven, and the result is a truly resilient source of food and freedom. The only question left is, what are you waiting for? Hey, if you found this explainer on this ancient food system valuable, please consider helping us spread this forgotten knowledge by sharing this video with someone. And of course, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on the next big idea we uncover. Thanks for watching.